Welcome to Mic'd Up with FCYC, the podcast where youth voices matter and real conversations happen. Today we are talking about something that affects almost every young person today: sexting, digital safety, and understanding boundaries in the digital world. Technology has changed the way we communicate. Text messages, social media, and apps make it easy to connect instantly. But with that convenience also comes responsibility. What we send, post, or share online can have real-life consequences. Today, we are joined by both teens and professionals to have an honest conversation about digital choices, respect, and protecting ourselves online. Before we begin, let's define the term sexting. Sexting is when someone sends or receives sexually suggestive messages, photos, or videos through text messages, social media, or other digital platforms. Many teens may believe these messages stay private, but once something is sent digitally, it can easily be shared, screenshotted, or forwarded without permission. Another important term is digital safety. Digital safety means protecting yourself and others when using the internet, social media, texting, gaming, platforms, or any other online space. It means thinking carefully about what you share, who you interact with, and how your actions online can impact your future. Everything you post or send becomes part of your digital footprint. So let's start by having our guests introduce themselves and what would make them qualified to answer these questions.
Oh, hello, my name is Kaden Fulton. I am an 11th grader at FCYC, and I don't know, I'm a theater kid.
Hi, my name is Camille Welch. I am the marketing co-chair of FCYC, and I think I'm qualified because I'm a teen.
Hi, my name is Michelin Henderson. My pronouns are she, her. I am a community health educator at Planned Parenthood South Atlantic. I work with young people and their parents or caring adults, teaching a variety of topics, including what we're talking about today, digital safety. We also talk about reproductive health, sexual health, and things of that nature.
Great, thank you. Okay, so we're going to start off with the first question. So the first part of this question is a teen question. So, as a teen, when you hear the word sexting, what do you think it means, and how common do you think it is among young people today?
When I think of sexting, I feel like the definition of that would just be sending any sort of seemingly inappropriate things, like when people, just things you don't typically show to the public when you're walking around. I feel like that's kind of what sexting is a little bit. And I feel like it's pretty common within teens. I think people do it a lot, especially on like Snapchat and stuff like that, and like certain social media platforms. I think it's pretty common within like a certain age range, I believe.
I agree with your definition of what sexting is. Now, beforehand, I didn't really think it was like a common thing. I was like, just something that people, I just heard that's just something like people do. And they're like, oh, yeah. I was like, really? People do that? But then now it's like, now that I educated myself more on the subject, I realize it actually does happen more than I actually thought it did.
Yes, it does. Now for our professional question, from your professional experience working with youth, how often do you see situations involving sexting or digital boundary issues?
Yeah, it's way more common than some parents might think. They might think that their kids would never do that. But I have conversations with young people and their caring adults all the time. And young people now are growing up in a very digital world. So apps like Snapchat, and there's a vanish feature on Instagram now, and other apps, or even some of our regular messaging. It comes up pretty often, and it could be from peer pressure. It could be just because they want to do it, but it does come up pretty often.
Yes. Moving on to question 2. For our teens, do you think teens sometimes feel pressured to send messages or pictures they might not feel comfortable sending? And where do you think that pressure comes from?
I definitely agree that it's a peer pressure situation. I think especially young women, especially like high schoolers and around that age, I think are definitely pressured to send things just because they might like someone, and that person that they like might say like, oh, hey, if you really like me, then you would do this. And certain things like that, or comparisons to like their other friends, and their friends have told them, oh, well, I've done this and it wasn't that bad. And, it just stayed between me and this individual. So I think it happens pretty often, but peer pressure can be a factor. But also I think some people might just want to in the moment, but they don't realize the consequences of it potentially, and they haven't really been sure with that person, so things might get shared. So
I love your example of that, actually, because I was just about to say something a little similar. Like, I think it has it does have something to do with peer pressure, but also like a way of a means to show love, I guess you could say. People like, oh, if you really love me, if we're really locked in, if we're really tight like this, like do this for me, or do this, that, and third. And it's like,
Yeah, I agree. I've had some friends have gone through that, and even some significant others of mine have tried to do that to me as well. So I agree. For adult and professional questions, what are some signs that a young person may be experiencing online pressure or coercion?
Yeah. So from an outside view looking in, some signs could be maybe our young person is being more secretive with their phone, or they might seem stressed after they get a notification or a message or whatever. They might become, as far as behavior goes, more withdrawn or isolated. They might not be as talkative as they normally are. Those could be some outside signs. And I love that y'all use those examples, that if you really love me, blah, 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 you'll do this, you'll send a video, you'll do all of that jazz. But yeah, those are definitely some possible signs they could be experiencing that online pressure or coercion.
Yes. For our teens, what does having digital boundaries mean to you when communicating with friends or people online?
I think having digital boundaries is definitely just knowing what you're willing and not willing to do beforehand. I know that some people, they have their like Instagram accounts or TikTok accounts, they have them on private sometimes, and they just have it within a certain amount of people, and they don't want everyone to see because of the certain stuff that they post, and stuff like that. And just choosing not to be on certain apps, even though someone says like, oh, everyone has this app and everyone does this. You don't have to do it just because everyone else is. So stuff like that, just knowing what you're not willing to do and staying firm on that, even if other people might say that you're not cool or you're lame or that you're not doing this, that, and the third, like you don't have to. You can stay true to yourself, I think.
I think a lot of our in-person boundaries can also reflect a lot on our online boundaries. Like if you're a really private person in person, I feel like that will also reflect on your social media. Like Camille said, you might have a private account. You might not even post a lot of things. You might not even share your face to social media, your name. Like I think whatever personal boundaries you have in person, it'll probably reflect a lot online as well.
I agree. For our professional question, how can adults help teach young people to recognize and set healthy digital boundaries?
Yeah, so first, talking about being safe online initially and early on, even before our young people get to that age where they're kind of experimenting with social media and things like that, to talk about respect and consent and boundaries. But I think one of the most important things just in general is to model good behavior for our young people. So, modeling by posting respectful things online if we are posting, if we're posting pictures, making sure they're respectful pictures, because at the end of the day, they're going to do what we do. And having conversations about setting those boundaries. So if someone is pressuring you to send a picture or something like that, having them practice saying, like, I'm not comfortable doing that. I am not going to do that. Please stop asking me about doing that. So, and telling them they have the right to block someone, to say no online, is super important.
I agree. I feel like as a young person, looking up to your parents are your role models. You kind of want to do everything that they do, especially when you're really young. And that can transfer into your teenage years where you're modeling yourself after your parents. And so having that good example can really be helpful in guiding you to make the right decisions. I definitely totally agree. So moving on to our next question for our teens again. Do teens really think about their digital footprint, or does it feel like what happens online stays in the moment?
I think I think certain individuals, when they're younger, like around freshman to sophomore age, I think we grow up watching a lot of these videos that they play in school and they say digital footprint, and we don't really take it as seriously maybe at first until someone experiences it. And it might not be as dramatic as it is in the video, but like someone might see it or someone might send it to a teacher. Like that, those things definitely can happen, and it might not be a school-wide issue, but just sending something that is private and you wanted one individual person to see and now multiple people see it, that is still a great like impact on your mental state. So I think people underestimate its power of it.
I don't think a lot of people think about their digital footprint at all, really. Like, some people will even mock digital footprint, like, oh, I don't care about that. That's just a silly thing. Like, no one's going to see what I do. Like, they truly do underestimate, like, I feel like they just do stuff in the heat of the moment, and they don't really think about the consequences that can follow that necessarily. And no, I don't really think a lot of people do really even care about digital footprint.
Yeah, I think so too. For our adult, how can something posted or shared online affect a young person's future opportunities like college, employment, or relationships?
Yeah, so bouncing off what y'all said, yeah, a lot of young people, we don't think at around that age of, the impacts or the implications of what we post online, but it stays there, if not forever, a very long time. Whatever we post, especially if our name is attached to it or our face is attached to it, as far as impacting things like college or employment or things like that, a lot of times people are going to Google us at the end of the day. And if we're one of those people that really have a very unique name, it's very likely we will come up. So if we post something that might not align with the future employer, that might be a reason we're not hired. As far as college admissions goes, they might Google us and they might decide, well, we're not going to take that applicant, and you might get denied from your dream school. As far as relationships go, potential partners might Google us. I know that some young women, they Google their prospective male partners to see what's going on there. If they see they're posting something that is not right, that might not be someone they want to pursue a relationship with. So thinking about privacy and just really thinking about the possible impacts of whatever we're posting. Would I want my employer to see this? Would I want my parents to see what I'm posting? Would I want my younger siblings to see what I'm posting, or my friends, is super important to think about because of those possible consequences.
Definitely. My parents used to tell me, like, if you wouldn't do it, if your grandmother was around, don't do it. So yeah, live by that. So our next question is just for our professional. And that is, what can communities, schools, or families do to create safe and respectful digital environments for all youth, including people of the LGBTQ plus community?
Yeah, so overall, kind of going back to one of our first questions, is really modeling that safe behavior or respectful behavior online, as far as our communities, our parents, and our schools go. So again, just having respectful communication and respectful content online, whether that's videos or pictures or things like that, and setting clear expectations of what's expected as far as bullying goes, or discrimination or harassment, and outlining that that is not acceptable behavior. And for our LGBTQ youth in particular, sometimes that's a space where those young people might experiment or trying to look for their identity. So say those people are online and trying to explore where they lie somewhere on the spectrum, kind of having those open conversations. It doesn't have to be a whole big thing with our young people, but trying to identify some safe websites they can go to if they are exploring those identities. There are some great ones out there, and having open mind and communication with them.
I agree. Okay, so we're going to move into our next question for our teens first. What advice would you give another teen about protecting themselves online and making smart digital decisions?
I like earlier how you said, like, if you wouldn't show your grandmother, don't post it, don't do it. Because that's something also I live by. Wait, can you repeat the question? I'm sorry.
Oh, you're good. What advice would you give another teen about protecting themselves online and making smart digital decisions?
I think to say, I like to tell people like to look at it future wise, especially if you have even if you have a private account, that stuff can still get out. If you think this could affect you in 5 years, even if it's just like in the heat of the moment, you're mad about something, you're sad about something, just anything, if this can in any way, shape, or form interfere with anything future wise, why would you do that?
Right. Got to be thinking ahead. Yeah.
Right. I agree. I think that just being aware of things that you post and certain individuals seeing it, especially like future employers and stuff, because I know people personally who have like, again, looked up like how you said, like looked up their boyfriends or girlfriends or stuff and seen stuff that they post and they're just like, oh, I don't align with that, I don't agree with what they're saying. And you would have never thought like, oh, this person would see it, but they did. And like stuff like that, like jobs and colleges and your family members and stuff too, like you might not always agree with it later on, so just keep in mind with stuff and be mindful about what you post and just make sure that like you don't post something that you might regret years later that you don't align with anymore.
Right. Yeah, because our future quickly becomes our present, so we always got to be thinking ahead and like making sure that we're gonna be okay in the future, and what we're doing right now is not gonna affect that. For our adult/professional question, what are 3 digital safety habits every teen should practice when using social media or messaging apps?
Yeah, so number one is to think before posting or sending or sharing. And, the same sentiment we all echoed, like, would I be comfortable with my family seeing this? My grandmother, particularly, my mom, my sisters, my brothers, whoever. Would I be all right if that was blasted in front of the school or something like that? Like, even thinking broader, because the internet is so vast and so many people can lay eyes on whatever you post. Like you said, even if it's private, people can screenshot or screen record or screen share or something like that to see your content. Even if you've blocked them or something, they can get someone else to look at your account. The second one kind of leads into that, to protect your privacy. So looking at your privacy settings, seeing who can see your content, but also keeping in mind that, again, somebody else can still get in there and see what's going on. Avoid, of course, sharing your personal information. Don't share where you go to school or like your school schedule. Don't share your full name or things like that. And be cautious with people you don't know well online. It can be easy to form those kind of relationships online. And to trust your instincts is the last one. So like if you're in a conversation with someone in the comment section or you happen to DM them and something feels off, it doesn't feel right, it's all right to just ghost them or block them, or I think the term is soft blocking, where you block them and unblock them so they're no longer following you. You can do that as well. You can report them like to a trusted adult, or to, if you're in something like Discord, to the mods of the Discord or the admins on the website, whatever the appropriate action would be. So trust your instincts, think about posting, and check your privacy settings.
Thank you. All right, everyone. So before we close, we want to ask one final question for everyone in the room. What is one piece of advice you would give young people about protecting themselves and respecting others online?
I think definitely just having those digital boundaries that you said, and just knowing like what you're willing to do and not do, I guess, and just having that consistently in your mind, because I think people go on the internet, they kind of just say and do whatever, and they don't think it's going to get out, especially in group chats. In group chats, a lot of things get shared, a lot of images, a lot of screenshots get sent to the group chats, and then everything. Messy, yes. And you think, oh, it's just going to stay between me and my girls or me and my homeboys, but no, they like, those people know people, and then they know people, like, it shares. So I think just making sure that if someone had said something to you privately and you don't align with, you can just say, hey, I'm not going to look at that, and I'm just not going to continue to talk to you. You don't have to screen share and send it to other people and spread it. It was a mistake and you realize that, so you can just remove yourself from that situation and not further and be the perpetrator.
I think you should know and have your boundaries and then stand firmly on them, because I know a lot of people have boundaries, but then they'll be so quick to let loose on them and not stand as firmly as they should be on them for whatever reason, like a quick and simple thing that they want to say no to, they will say yes to because they feel like they have to, which I feel like is also a thing that can tie into peer pressure as well, like we were stating earlier.
Yeah, I really love the knowing and setting your boundaries and standing firm on that. And like we echoed earlier, just really, really thinking about what you post, because it could come back to bite you later. I'm sure we've all seen things like resurface from celebrities from before they were famous, and wild things they may have said. So those are some examples of, once it's out there and you say something, it could have an impact on you later in life.
Yes, thank you for all of these answers. As we can see from the responses and our own experiences, the digital world gives us incredible ways to connect, share, and express ourselves. But with that power comes responsibility. Respecting boundaries, protecting your privacy, and thinking before you send something online are all a part of being digitally responsible. Remember, one message, one post, or one photo can follow you for years. Thank you for tuning in to Mic'd Up with FCYC at the Radio Fayetteville podcast channel, where youth voices continue to inspire change.